Hello, everybody, and welcome to this DVD review slash close-up video here on the Media Files. Well, this time around, I figured I would go back to one of my favorite eras of film. Basically, just like loads of other people, we all love ourselves a little '80s cheese, don't we? So, this time around, I thought we would discuss one of my favorite films of the '80s, and kind of a movie that I kind of stumbled on by accident, mainly because of Top Gun. I'm of course talking about the film that came out before Top Gun, Iron Eagle, starring Lou Gossett Jr. and Jason Reddick, right here on the Media Files. Welcome back. So, Iron Eagle, this movie kind of just, I kind of came across it literally by accident on VHS way back in the day when I rented videos from the video store. And I'm like, oh, cool, it's a movie about airplanes. Because I was obsessed with airplanes when I was a kid. I don't know why. Like loads of kids are. We just think they're cool because we like to make little, sound effects and, make them pretend they're flying around and what have you. And mind you, I was obsessed with Top Gun, still am. And I've been watching Top Gun since I was 4 years old. But I kind of came across this little movie called Iron Eagle, and it looked interesting. I'm like, oh, okay, sounds pretty interesting. And lo and behold, well, it's what can I say? It's actually, in my opinion, yeah, it's pretty cheesy, but I think it's probably one of the best movies literally to date about flying because there's not very many movies that actually have real flying scenes in them besides Top Gun. And mind you, yes, this movie was shot in a low budget, um, directed by a really great director by the name of Sidney J. Furie, who's done loads of great movies, including the majority of this series except for one. Uh, but what can I say though? I mean, this movie is it's really, really good. So basically, the plot of the film is basically it's about an Air Force pilot who is shot down over the Middle Eastern country and is taken prisoner by the name of Colonel Ted Masters. And so word gets out from the government that they're trying to negotiate his release, and so his son Doug, who is trying to basically graduate from high school, wants to join in his father's footsteps in the Air Force. But so he basically can't really do anything on his own because obviously he has no real experience out in the field. But luckily, one person that does help him is by the name of retired Colonel Chappie Sinclair. Yeah, played awesomely by Louis Gossett Jr. Probably the role I think he's probably best known for, in my opinion. Now I know he's been in lots of great other roles, but this is the one that I know him best from. So knowing that though, he also has loads of friends that also help out with him as well. And one of them by the name of Robbie Rest is the actor's name. If you don't know, I believe that is the same actor who voiced the character of Michelangelo in the Ninja Turtle movies. So I believe it's the same person, but I could be wrong. But that's all right. So after watching this movie, one thing that I just absolutely love about this movie is that it has a really really awesome soundtrack to it. Yeah, much like the '80s, we were steeped into that harder edged rock and roll. Going a little bit harder from the '70s era into the '80s because it was the '80s. It was all about hair metal and jean jackets, chains, big huge sunglasses, just neon signs, you name it. '80s were crazy, and they, in my opinion, still probably the best decade ever. Uh, so so here we have Jason Gedrick who plays Doug Masters, and it's kind of interesting because he actually is. This is about the only role that I remember him of. I really haven't seen him in much of anything else other than this movie and in a little bit from the second movie. Um, but also we have the villain David Shusett, who is kind of he's basically known as the minister in this. It's an unnamed Middle Eastern country because obviously they don't want to give away which country it actually is, but for the sake of the film, they just said, well, it just takes place in the Middle East. It's such a great soundtrack, though. I mean, he's got there's Queen on there, and just loads of great songs, including uh, Road Road from the Gypsy by Adrenaline. God, what else is there? Just a rocking great soundtrack, really, really good. Loads of classic songs. Look it up on YouTube. I'll post a link down in the description below for the soundtrack, so you can listen at your own pleasure. But loads of great actual dogfight sequences, done graciously by the Israeli Air Force at the time. And because obviously, obviously in America wasn't really going to do much because they kind of read the screenplay and they're like, yeah, we don't want to be involved. So let's just go to shoot in Israel for a much lower budget. But it really shows off though. But what's also great about though is the score, composed by none other than RoboCop and Starship Troopers alumni Basil Poledouris. Yeah, such a great musical score to this, and it's probably one of the more memorable soundtracks of the late '80s when it comes to the film scores. Now, sadly, this movie does not have hardly any bonus features attached to it. Yeah, which is really, really. I'm sorry, I dropped it. Which is really, really sad. And so, but it does have disc art. Yeah, that's something that you don't really see very much. You got disc art there, as well as the scene selection of a little piece of paper there. That's pretty much all we got. So, for as far as this particular thing goes, it has interactive menus. It's got different languages in 5.1 and 2-channel surround sound in English and Spanish. It's got subtitles in English, Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, Korean, and Thai, as well as your usual talent and filmographies, which is basically just here's a list of all things that they've done and your scene selections. But this particular DVD edition is in the full screen format. Yeah, 4:3. Now, there actually is another version out there, which I do have somewhere. It's actually on a flipper disc. It has both the widescreen and the full screen editions. So that's something, if you want to watch the movie in widescreen, try to track that down. Otherwise, you're just going to find this particular version of the movie. Although, great soundtrack, great explosions, overall, really, really good story. However, though, spoilers. This is your spoiler territory. If you have not seen this movie, go away, watch it, come back. So, towards the end of the film, we get, towards the ending of the movie, we have the scene that happens where after Chappie gets shot down, then it basically is Doug is on his own, has a great, rockin' soundtrack with, I think it's with one of Zach Ward's songs, I believe, like Black Label Society or something like that. Like one of those type of songs of the 80s, but I cannot remember what the name of it is, but it's a great song. So then Doug manages to rescue his father and help him loads him up into the F-16 that he's in. And, so the after seeing basically his base being destroyed, the defense minister basically says, hey, I'm taking over, I'm taking this guy out, because he is actually a trained pilot. He actually is an ace, he knows what he's doing. And so lo and behold, we get to the final battle, and when you see the actor, David Schuster's face, the actor that is the villain, and then it cuts to the guy flying the plane, it's a completely different person. And it has him doing it has David Schuster doing the voiceover, basically saying, "All right, you may deal directly with me now. Colonel Akil Nakesh. That's the character. That's the Defense Minister Nakesh, and and it's terrible seeing that you got the guy who you've been waiting him for the entire movie to watch him, go up against this young pilot who basically has little to hardly no experience, except he gets his experience by listening to music while he's flying and shooting down enemies and whatnot. That's how he gets his skill, basically. And so, as you watch it, you're like, why was he even replaced? It's like with today's technology, we can easily fix that. I'm sure there's probably something out there, but this needs, this needs to be re-released. I seriously doubt that Sony will ever re-release this movie because it did somewhat okay, but we need like a special anniversary edition, like a behind the scenes featurette of them making it and stuff like that. I'm sure there's one out there somewhere, but I mean, it's an okay movie for what it is. But if you just like cheesy '80s fun, this is a pretty good movie. So now a fun fact. So for those of you that have watched the let's see, is it in here? No. For those of you that have watched the Cobra Kai series from an episode during the first season when it shows whatever whatever the guy's name is, it's basically at the moment. Whenever it shows his character sitting there watching TV, and he's got this movie on, and you hear this guy saying, "A bunch of things must have gone wrong if you're listening to this." This is the movie that he is watching in the Cobra Kai series. So, yeah, that's a interesting fun fact, because I picked that up right away when I'm like, hey, he's watching Iron Eagle. And, what can I say? It's a great movie, especially if you just love, just cheesy 80s fun action movies. So, yeah. Alright, well, that basically completes this review of Iron Eagle. Yeah, like I said, multiple times. Great movie. A little cheesy and hammy at times. So with that, I'll also leave a link in the description below if you want to purchase it through Amazon. Also with that, please like and subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you in the next review. See ya.